Fascism is simple, and some leniency is due to the United States of America for wanting to get away from what happened in Europe under Nazi Germany after we had finished with them and reinstalled um, a more rational attempt at German um, liberalism. So I'm not completely acrimonious to the happy days in the United States that emerged with Buddy Holly, Studebaker Larks, the GI Bill allowed many veterans to go to college. Some, like my father, started new families. They'd been changed by the war. The world had been changed by the war, and there was optimism. It's sad that the idea of the Iron Curtain fell, that relations between Stalin and FDR were replaced with domino theory. Fascism likes to keep things simple. Even though General Franco was clearly an antagonist to the Allies, he survived World War II and developed camaraderie with Taiwan based on a common theme of anti communism. The problem with anti fascism is that when they try to keep things simple, as the Spanish anarchists did, who had a chance against Franco for a while, they lose control. In order to have control, you don't have to keep things simple if you're anti fascist. You have to keep things sophisticated, and I don't mean in a shell game of deception. I mean, you have to keep up with the challenges and responsibilities of meaningful liberal government. The Kennedys tried to do that and were killed. Joe McCarthy goaded Eisenhower into saying he would defend the French in Dien Bien Phu, who FDR wanted out of Southeast Asia. He recognized them as Vichy French, who were allies of the Japanese in Axis. So did the fascists in America, who FDR would have made clear the law was there to restrain and never to encourage. Somehow, they got slippery enough to find their way out of their defeat in World War II and reasserted their power. Gorbachev emerged in what was for me a very dark time, Reagan's administration, when my father died, for one thing. When Central America was being used as a PlayStation for the phantoms of secret war. It was a sad time. I worked in a medical library and there were sad medical developments. I was rejected by the artists and my peers because I'm deaf, and the complications that come with being a deaf person who has been abused in a society like ours. Gorbachev emerged from the era of the Velvet Revolution, samizdat, when the Russian intelligentsia yielded to the parliamentarian arguments of the Czech intelligentsia. Ivan Svitek came to California, where he was disabused of the idea that Americans really supported Czech intelligentsia because he was a Marxist. And he said it was like trying to teach the church that the earth revolved around the sun in the age of Galileo, to say that Marxism had beautiful things to offer, that it was protecting workers and women, children, that it wasn't out to steal, it was out to just be duly and fairly compensated for its hard work. Whatever the problems may be with the management of a private designed industry, it's worth hearing out. And we had encouraged the Czech intellectuals to believe we wanted to hear them out. Gorbachev invested, he allowed for newly independent states. And Russia just said, consider us your partners in exchange of arrangements. JFK would have engaged the Russians as partners. He would have welcomed the day. So would have Martin Luther King. But there was no Martin Luther King to speak up when the Berlin Wall came down. What there was instead was a Bush administration muttering about greater menace. Perhaps they were concerned about Russian control of Eurasia, shipping routes, and access to raw materials, being within reach of a partnership over which they craved domination. Anti-communism, which once kept things simple, was gone. They were going to have to be sophisticated and responsible, and this they refused to do. Clinton, Obama, all of them refused. The darkness that has poured over the planet because of the situation of refusal to form reasonable relations with the newly independent states and Russia is a consequence in part of intransigent Red Scare politics that simplified things for American irresponsible and immature worldviews. When Mikhail Gorbachev lamented on his deathbed that his work was in ruins, he probably didn't know who to blame any more than any of us do. A great man perished.